Hello and welcome everybody to Game Changers presented by Riot, Saito, and Wisdom. My name is Peishu Time, and I'm very happy to be here for such an awesome event. We have a lot of games lined up for you over the next few weeks, but before we get anywhere else, let me introduce my wonderful co-caster for today. It is none other than the legend Camcom.
Thank you so much, Pastry. Hello, I'm Camcom. This is my first time ever on the LCS broadcast. I am so excited to be here presenting the Game Changers. It's a beautiful, wonderful event, and we get to be the ones that are in front of you on the camera for today. All 6 games today.
Yeah, and potentially a few more after that as well, because let's take a look at how the event breaks down format-wise. We have 3 teams in this event playing a series of exhibition best of 2s. They're going to be playing on all the Saturdays, September 2nd, 9th, and 16th. So mark your calendars right now. Strike off all those Saturdays. You have nothing better to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Absolutely.
I can tell you that much. Each team is going to play 4 games a day. They're going to play a bunch of best of 2s. At the end of 3 weeks of play, the top 2 teams, so the 2 teams with the best records, are going to play a final best of 3 on September 23rd to decide the winner of this edition of Game Changers, and that's actually going to be played live in person at LAN in LA, which is going to be such a cool experience for everyone involved.
I'm so excited for that LA best of 3. That's going to be one of the most best of 3s I've absolutely ever been a part of. But yes, each team, like you just mentioned, does play each other team 1 time each Saturday. So it's a lot of 3s. 3 best of 3s, 3 teams. You play each team 3 times, lots of 3s. We've got 3 best of 3s for you today, though, starting off with the first team of the day.
Yeah, let's have a look at our teams. Actually, here, Serenity is going to kick us off. In the top lane, it is Shyset in the jungle, Shapeshift, Miss Timo in mid, Yumichi in bottom lane. Hello, oh my goodness, it's happening already. Hello, Isia. Hello, Isia. Hello,
Isia.
Hello, Isia. Thank you. I'm not
it.
kidding. We practiced that so many times, and I still
really
made
did.
a mistake. Professional broadcaster, by the way. And of course, there are coaches and managers, Macros and Perchance. Awesome people. For a lot of these players, by the way, we have some returning players. Yumichi, Shapeshift, and Shyset have all been in Game Changers before. 2 of them actually playing twice, and Shyset playing once. Yumichi, though, kind of the unique one, swapping over into a less comfortable role for her this time around. Our second team, though, is at least the best logo in the business. It is the Astrocats. Muramina in top lane, Fiku in the jungle, Fairy Girl in mid, Avril in bottom lane, and then Billy Worth, the only player to not play in a Game Changers on this team in support. So a ton of veterans of the program here on this squad, and then Billy Worth with their initial journey into Game Changers for this event.
Absolutely. And then moving on to our final team for the Game Changers event is, of course, Arcana. You have Aquatic in the top lane, Empy as your jungler, Ayukura in the mid lane, Ryle as your AD carry, and Shirley for your support. And, of course, the wonderful Summer as your coach and Gabrielle for your manager. The Arcana squad has 2 returning members, both Ayukura and Ryle playing in previous seasons.
Yeah, awesome to see. Again, lots of returning faces. This is an event that's been running for a little while now, so it's always great to see players return and continue. Also, I did miss them temporarily, and I apologize for that. Celeria and Marbles are the coach and manager of Astrocats. And in fact, I've talked to a bunch of different people across the teams. Everyone has been very generous with their information and just kind of sharing like what they thought about the event, what their players are like, what their teams are like. But let's get into the nitty-gritty. It is time for the schedule. These are our 3 best of 2s lined up for today. Kicking things off with Serenity versus Astrocats. Astrocats will then play Arcana, and then Arcana is going to play Serenity to round out the day. Like we said, only 3 teams in this event. They play for at least 3 weeks before the LAN final in the 4th week for this month. So we're going to have lots of opportunity to see kind of how these teams develop and adapt to, the little meta that's going to breed here, but also how, how their management and their coaches and their players all learn. It's such a cool program. You really get like a heavily compacted, little mini LCS split.
Absolutely. These teams have been together for about 2 to 2.5 months. They started just recently in July, and this is the first time playing in a competitive tournament as these 3 set teams are. And there are 3 best of 3s today. Each team got a side selection in one of their series determined by a coin flip for their first game, and then game 2 will be side select based on the loser from game 1. And all 3 teams that had their side select for game 1 have opted for blue side. So you will see immediately, blue side has come up a little bit on top already in terms of what kind of side we want to pick in terms of meta.
And if it's been a little while since you've watched League of Legends, we are on patch 13.17. That is way too many numbers for a patch, but that is how many numbers there are. If you're watching the LCS final somewhat recently, that was played on 13.14. So it's been a lot of changes that's happened since then.
Yes.
But we're going to be stuck on this patch for the entire month. Like any kind of legal tournament, we are locking the patch for the entire event duration.
And that means we get Neferi, we get the Bruiser items, we get all the new changes. Even one patch is very different usually. Like even 13.16 to 17 is a very different game, but 13 to 14 to 17 is a pretty massive jump. Introducing a new champion is a pretty massive jump as well, so I would be very excited. It'd be my first time casting Neferi. I hope we get to see Neferi, but I'm honestly kind of expecting she's probably going to be banned a couple of times.
Yeah, she did get nerfed a bunch, so I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where either the bans were enough and we're not going to see her, or the bans were not enough and she's going to be picked up banned every game. So we'll see where everything lands. My favorite thing, I was reviewing all the changes that had happened since 13.14, just catching myself up on like, hey, what did actually happen in these patches? And every patch I felt like got bigger and bigger. Like I feel like 13.17 had more changes than the other two patches combined. So the game is very different if it's been a while since you watched League, and I'm very excited to see how these teams navigate, especially since they'll get so much time to kind of play each other, and in this format play a lot of different games at a very short amount of time. So we'll definitely see lots of different adaptation, like anytime you get to play a patch for a long time.
Absolutely, and I think we are about ready to head into our Game 1, Series 1 draft of Game Changers. You can see it right there. It is Astrocats versus Serenity. I believe it's actually flipped sides, though. I think it's Astrocats actually on the blue side for Game 1, so maybe we could do some predictions. Who do you think is winning maybe Game 1 or Series 1 here?
I mean, I've kind of already tipped my hat, but I can't vote against the cat logo. It's such a great logo. So I guess I have to say Astrocats for Game 1. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can confirm Pastry this entire time. We've been talking about these teams. He's
so good.
He's been on the Astrocats team this entire time. So I will go with the Flowers. I will go with Serenity. We're very calm and relaxed on the Rift here today. And yep, the sides have been swapped. Astrocats did select blue side here for a Game 1 win. And we are heading right into draft.
It's time for some picks and bans. This is going to be fun. I'm very curious to see what this draft looks like, because this is, I mean, in many ways, this is the tone setter for the entire event, right? Obviously, teams will be watching this. They'll be taking information that they can. I know the teams have been practicing, as you said, for a few months, but I don't know how often they've played each other. At least one of the coaches I talked to was very careful not to give me too much information about how their team was, which I respect a ton, like not wanting to give away anything strategic, especially so early in the event. But this one, probably not a surprise to anyone that knows anything about Serenity's support. It's a rel ban straight away.
It's a rel ban for Hello Isia. We're still going to continue practicing your name. Please tell us if we're not saying it right. I hope we are saying it right now. Hello Isia is currently, or previously at least, as far as we know, the rank 1 rel in North America. So it is going to be absolutely no surprise. Probably we will see rel picked or banned every single time against the Serenity squad here. And LeBlanc is going to be the first ban taken away from Fairy Girl. She has been practicing a lot of LeBlanc recently in solo queue.
Definitely a champ you want to get out of the hands of competent mid laners. Very curious to see how mid lane shakes out. I feel like mid this year has been kind of a weird role. There's been a reasonable number of like champions you can play in a pretty wide range of things, but I feel like people have mostly defaulted to, I mean, when Trista was in the meta, I think hopefully she got nerfed enough to not see her every game. But it was just one of those like, hey, I'm pushing the lane and now I'm a team fighter, which was not very exciting. So we'll see how these players want to take it, as Shai said, going to lose Jax there. Probably in the, presumably in the top lane.
Yeah, I would definitely not be surprised to see at least one, if not maybe even two more bans directed towards the mid lane here. Fairy Girl is the highest ranked player here, being the challenger player on Astrocats. So if you're going to target ban somebody, that is a very good choice on who you may want to target. But that is actually going to be that Kindred taken away from Fiku for, I believe, the same exact reason as the LeBlanc, just a very popular pick right now for that individual player in solo queue.
Yep, Kindred, a champion we've seen a decent amount this season, so not wanting to give it in the hands, especially if you're a team that potentially can play through or play around your jungler. Kindred's the kind of champion you don't want to be giving away, as J4 is going to get taken off the board.
Astrocats definitely looking a lot more closely here at the meta than I think at individual players. All three of these bans absolutely scream top meta bans, right? Like J4 Rel especially. Even if you are looking at Helosia rank 1 Rel, right? You're still gonna ban this champion. It's just such a powerful champion in the meta overall. And Swain is gonna be our final ban to round out round 1.
Yeah, as you mentioned, or alluded to, I should say, another target ban absolutely towards Fairy Girl. Very competent Swain player.
Oh boy. What's gonna be B1? It can't be Rel. My prediction was gonna be Rel, but it can't be Rel. It's gonna be an ADC. That's my prediction.
Ooh, kind of makes sense. We'll see. A few seconds now for Astrocats to decide. It is. Oh goodness.
Okay.
So before we went on camera, you did mention this champion and the other champion that's often paired with. I got bad news for you. We might be seeing them.
My mention of Xayah Rakan before the stream started may have cursed us for some Xayah Rakan here in Game 1. I would be very surprised if we did not see an immediate R1 or R2 answer of Xayah here, but both the supports will, of course, be locked in first. Some very engage heavy, to nobody's surprise, that it has been the meta very heavily in the past couple of months, couple of patches, however you want to say it, for the bot lane.
Yep, it's funny you mentioned Rel, obviously a great pick individually for Heloisia, but also yeah, a pretty good meta champion both for jungle and support, even though she did get a couple nerfs. Looks like it is going to be a bottom lane here, but deciding not to take the Xayah away. It's going to be Ezreal picked up for Yumichi.
Yumichi locking in the Ezreal, one of her less comfortable picks actually for a solo queue, but of course we don't know how scrims have gone, unfortunately, so maybe this has been a super comfortable pick for her recently in the bot lane for scrims and competitive play, and that Xayah will be, we have cursed it, I have cursed it, I have cursed it for some Xayah Rakan here for Avril and Billyworth Game 1.
I mean, I think if you're trying to stop this, I really like Nautilus as a response here. But this screams to me that, like, you're leaving your bottom lane alone. Like, at some point, Ezreal is just going to be left in the bottom lane to farm up, and the rest of the team is going to try and find plays around the map and find some dives. So, best of luck, Yumichi. You may be isolated for quite a lot of this early game, but we'll see how it develops as Astrocats. Continuing to pick pretty standard stuff here. Maokai likely going to be the jungle pick here for Fiku.
And then to match that immediately as well will be the Lilia locked in for Shapeshift. This is a super, super comfortable pick for her. Being a full clear jungler, you don't have to worry about that level 3 gank from really either jungler. I don't think Maokai is going to be level 3 ganking anyone either, right? But getting to that level 6 power spike is going to be super crucial for both of these junglers. So maybe not a 5-minute dragon, but I think a 6 or a 7-minute dragon could definitely be a team fight that we're looking for here.
Love Lilia. Just a champion that's so cool. Also adds a magic damage source in some way you don't often get them from. So curious to see if there's maybe an AD mid here for Serenity. Lots of options potentially you can take here if you want to diversify your damage profile a little bit. But also, again, top lane threats continuing to be taken away. That's basically the third top lane ban here. If we assume Jarvan is a playable champion in that lane, as Kayle is going to get taken away from Shyset.
Again, I'm going to predict we're going to see at least one more mid-ban. That Tristana, very definitely a mid-ban targeted here towards Fairy Girl. You were mentioning it. I would talk about it too. Tristana is just probably like SS plus tier in terms of meta in the mid lane, right? And both of the teams having picked jungle plus bot lane does leave the mid or top to be forced to blind picked here on our 4. And I would say Tristana and Azir are probably the best 2 champions to blind pick in the mid lane. So it might be a little bit more of a different champion, and Syndra is a good one for that.
Yeah, Syndra, another champion we've seen a lot of this split. One of my standby champions for a long time, and I've met a standby for what feels like forever. Darksphere got nerfed a little while back, and it felt like she was never the same, but hopefully this is the return of some Syndra coming back into vogue, as Camille, champion that's definitely received some love recently in the patches, going to be presumably the top lane pick here from Rumina.
Camille very heavy on that split push, very heavy as well on the Rift Herald Prio, which we may be seeing now from Astrocats in terms of how this comp has ended up panning out, and Ahri will end up being that match in the mid lane, Fairy Girl versus Miss Teemo. Very magey type of mid lane here.
Really sweet one too. Definitely a skill matchup here. I think if Fairy Girl, as you mentioned, the highest rated player at this event, feels like she can leverage her skill in the 1v1. This is definitely the kind of matchup you want to take. Syndra vs Ahri is all about your ability to understand the lane and how you can play mechanically. Also, obviously, pairs up with the jungler nicely, so perhaps see her and Fiku team up in the kind of mid stages of the game, or even Camille as well. You can definitely pair a ton of good Ahri pressure with that champion. As last pick is a classic. 4 top laners banned, we'll pick Renekton.
If you have ever watched CBLOL before, you have definitely seen a whole heck of a lot of R4, R5 Renektons. This is definitely no stranger to me as a CBLOL caster, so very excited to see it brought back up here in North America for our Game Changers. Once again, this is Game 1 of our best of 2 in the first best of 2 of Game Changers.
Yep, and I do want to issue a quick correction. Thank you, production, for informing me. We did actually slightly misinform you about the final week on September 23rd. We said it's going to be a final best of 3. I was wrong. Cam. It's actually
Is it a
two
best of
best
five?
of threes.
Oh.
No, it's two best of threes. So what's going to happen is all the teams are actually going to fly into LA, and then basically second and third are going to play the first place team. So we're actually going to get like 2 back-to-back best of threes to determine our overall winner, which basically means I just gave you an extra best of 3, okay? So we get more League of Legends. No one should complain.
I'm gonna complain. I wanted 3 best of 3s in LA. Come on. No, I don't. I honestly like the 2 best of 2s better than 1 best of 2 or even a best of 5. My original thought was this gonna be best of 5, then it was a best of 3, now it's 2 best of 2s. That's actually my favorite version of what could have possibly happened here. Not much action level 1 quite yet. I think probably will be very quiet overall across the map for the first few minutes.
Gonna be honest, I'm a little afraid for the bot lanes because the way the jugglers are currently positioned, that's where we're going to be naturally pathing towards. So I wouldn't be surprised if teams are trying to leverage themselves in the 2v2. As I mentioned earlier, Yumichi's actually a swap away.
Oh,
A bit of trading there. But yeah, it is a swap away for Yumichi into a less comfortable role. This player has played in Game Changers before. Avril, also a veteran of this program, but also swapped roles. Played jungle previously, is as I understand, much prefers bottom lane as her preferred role. So there's potentially like a tiny mismatch as far as personal preferences and styles here. And I think when you're picking a lane like Sayara Khan, you are very much saying like, we are the better bot lane, we believe we're the better bot lane, we're going to try and bully you in the early stages. So not surprised to see the junglers potentially going down there as well.
Bot lane, just based on the picks alone, right, definitely screams we are trying to play for these 80 carries, both picking very high damage. I would go as far as say high DPS damage 80 carries here, right, which is not something that we have seen a whole lot in terms of meta recently, but top lane has been very scrappy for the first couple of levels. You've seen Shy Sept. Oh, that is a tongue twister. You've seen Shy Sept.
You got it.
Constantly dashing in and out from that Camille. Your prio as the Renekton in these first couple of levels is to keep the Camille off the wave as much as possible, and so far Shizept has been able to do just that.
Nice little trade there from Miss Timo. Very good with some wonderful navigation, using the gap in the minion wave there to harass, but actually Miss Timo did find picked up Cannon Minion for the W and managed to trade back there and get some damage down, not stay too far down and get electrocuted by that rune too many times. Renekton though with that prio. Nice little buffer in the earlier trade from Murmina as well to get some damage traded back, but does seem like for now Serenity are happy to be pushing in most of their lanes as Shapeshift does make the expected visit down to bottom side, but there's nothing to do here but cover and push the wave.
Shapeshift here a little bit early because she did get a leash from Shizept. Fiku actually started Wolves without a leash from Muramina at all, so does give a couple of extra seconds that you saw right there. If something were to happen, Shapeshift would have been the first member there, but nothing actually ended up happening. The first scuttle will most likely go to Shapeshift, but Fiku is here in the bot lane for the first gank of the game. Very nice route connecting. Flash plus Cleanse immediately going to be burned by Yumichi, and Fiku might be on the wrong side of the wall. He got the double buffs gifted right over to Lucia.
Oh boy, oh, a little counterplay there. Beautiful flash though for Shapeshift. Now Farigo coming in, beautiful charm, picks up one. Could be a second. Shapeshift in trouble. Is going to get burnt down and killed as Avril collects the second.
Avril collecting that second. Yumichi still trying to run away, has that flash, plus Arcane Shift gives you so much room to run away. And top lane may look like a team fight, or 1v1 even, but I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of kills here. It's just Shizept's role, single mission in this game to make sure Murmina is not on that wave.
So have a look at how this went again. As you mentioned, Shapeshift maybe down a little early and beautifully timed counter gank here for Fiku. Shapeshift busy trying to take out the crab, and it's an easy start there as Rakan starting it in. Just kind of baited the rest of this, but Fiku with the long con able to set this up nicely. And of course, Ezreal, ever the slippery champion, managed to get out of there, so Shapeshift moves back down to reinforce, and Nautilus making that play a little too easy on the back end of it.
I mean, it was just so unfortunate. It looked so perfect for the Astrocats, right? And then it just, the second that somebody was mispositioned, even slightly wrong, right? It was just Fiku over the wall, when if she was on the other side of the wall, it would have been a totally different fight. Yumichi, I mean, Ezreal is just one of the most safe 80 carries in the game, right? You're always able to make it out of those plays alive, but the double buffs gifted over to Fairy Girl will make this mid lane experience significantly harder for Miss Timo.
Yeah, it was actually the mid lane room that made the big difference there. And look, it might be 2 plays on the cast today, and it's going to be a great action-packed-filled day. I can promise you all that. But at least we were both smart enough to recognize that bottom lane was likely going to be the focus. And not only did the junglers think so, the mid laners realized as well. There's Fairy Girl really capitalizing with that roam timing there. and continuing to kind of flex her knowledge of the role. Top lane continues to be a bit of an island, but Shysept is opening up a little bit of a lead, about 12 CS ahead right now, which is good, but Muramina will right the ship somewhat. She picks up minions under the tower here, but yeah, this Ahri is a problem. I think that's a pretty safe thing to say.
Yeah, that level 6 was a solid, 10 to 15 seconds ahead for Fairy Girl over Miss Teemo, but not able to do a whole lot with that little micro lead, as the first dragon of the game will end up going over to Serenity. Completely off vision, as far as I'm aware. I don't think anyone walked over that pixel brush, so they can just take the dragon for free. Fiku will continue full clearing, does have a slight CS lead over Shapeshift for now, but I think the Lilia will probably be able to close that pretty quickly.
Yeah, might have got a recall timer there by the looks of things. But Serenity's certainly capitalizing on the timing if they found it, and found a perfect window to take that dragon away. More action in the bottom lane though, my goodness, Cam.
Always action in the bot lane. Flash immediately burned by Fiku there, just trying to get that Clapcos onto Alosia. And I mean, if you missed that hook on the wall, it would have got you out if it landed. Does not get you out if it does not land. That is the 50-50 kind of, you just hope it lands, and if it doesn't, very sad.
Yeah, battle of the engage in many ways, but obviously Maokai, tons of CC as far as jungle goes, so nice assist added there for Fiku. Room's down again to try and open up more space and more lead in the bottom lane. And overall, it is Astrocats up 3-1, holding 1,000 gold in this early game. Very nice to kick things off, even though Serenity have the dragon kind of for their troubles. So certainly well within reach for both teams, but Astrocats will be happy with how the game is going, with Fairy Girl feeling comfy and bottom lane opening up the lead I think they were looking for. Is trouble in top lane, Shysept getting some damage down, but Muramina is going to be just fine. Has ult, has flash, was going to be okay there. Might not be okay here though, but does have some friends, so is trying to act as bait here.
You do see Billyworth friends roaming up here to the top lane. Muramina is having a very difficult time in the Camille-Renekton matchup. You need some sort of assistance to just, I mean, get the wave back on your side of the map, right? Shysept has a really solid freeze in the middle lane, and that it's eventually going to turn to a slow push, and that is eventually going to turn into most likely a very dead Muramina. Billyworth just needs to stay for a couple more minions. I think she is very close to that level 6 power spike. Stun plus knockup lands. Everything lands on a Shysept, caught in the middle of the Hextech ultimatum as well. Very nice pickup kill for Fiku.
Almost got a bonus on him to shapeshift as well. Ate the end of the brambles off of the Maokai ultimate, but thankfully was able to get out safely. Really kind of long play there from Astrocats, but I think well worthwhile to crush the wave, stop that slow push from happening, and then actually punish Shysept and get the kill. So a lot of resources committed, but it doesn't seem like Avril's in too much trouble in the bottom lane. If anything, the lead they had is maybe softened a bit by that roam, but I think well worth the roam there at the end of it all. As bottom side is Yumichi and Heloisia just pushing things down. Looks like everyone's returned with their little shop. They do have Sheen finished up for the easy, and Rico done for Avril, feeling pretty comfy here. Both ADs obviously with cleanse as well, so going to be just vibing for a little while. I mean, I was going to say, didn't expect them to get too much, have too much trouble, but I think when you throw that many champions that early in the bottom lane, even Ezreal is potentially going to have some trouble, although to Yumichi's credit, hasn't died yet either, actually just has an assist. So all quiet for the most part, but I think Astrocats can be happy with the pace of the early game. I will say though, Serenity, look at these coaches drilling in the importance of objectives to their players.
Somebody has told these players that you need to get that dragon, you need to get the Rift Trail, and they have gone both pretty much directly off of spawn. So even if they are behind about 1,500 gold at this point, being up both the early objectives can absolutely help close that gold lead after whether tower plates fall, whether towers start falling. I think the objective control so far in the early game has been super in the favor of Serenity here. I would expect the Rift Toad to most likely be dropped in the mid lane, but if top lane continues to go so much in the favor of Shysept, you might actually see it up there.
Yeah, I think maximizing your value, especially while plates are still up, is important. So have to track Shapeshift for her movements and see where she ends up. A little bit of counter jungling happening here as Fiku teams up with the pushing bottom lane to take away the blue buff, which does actually feel pretty bad as Lilia. You are one of the junglers that will probably take that buff relatively often, although likely not from your Syndra. As Muramina feeling much more confident after that gank. Has the Sheen now and is trying to push a little bit more in the matchup. Basically equalize the CS as well, even though Shysept doing a great job of keeping the wave in a favorable position. And here comes the trade. Stun lands, but not quite in power. Dashes back through, but it could be trouble. Muramina gonna have to flash away from the dominance there as Shysept does show dominance in the top lane 1v1.
It is so... Oh, also got a 1v1 here in
That's
mid lane.
a banger.
Really nice flash away from his team. The the stun onto the turret almost got a 1-for-1 for her there, but Fairy Girl just about able to dash away in time. That triple dash from Ahri with the reset as well comes so in clutch. And that would have been absolutely disastrous if Serenity just lost 2 1v1s in a row. It was very close for both of them, and it just turned a little bit more in the favor of Astrocats. They could definitely start to use that to get some plates in the mid lane for Fairy Girl.
Yeah, flash for flash at the end of the day, but very well played by Fairy Girl in that 1v1. Does secure the kill, does burn the summoner, and it's going to feel great TPing back into the lane as well. Love to see it, honestly. I think flexing your individual skill is one of the things that's always great to see in events like this. There's trouble in top lane, Rakan's up here. That's a knockup, and that should be quite the straightforward kill. Renekton, make it a little spicy, but it's Billyworth with the kill at the end of the day.
Billyworth with that ignite for the kill secured. Always gotta love that as a support main myself. You gotta take those kills. Always gonna be more worth for yourself than anyone else on the map. Definitely not biased whatsoever. Billyworth has been on top of these roams, both in the mid and the top lane, I think. She was also there for the Rift Herald as well, but they did not end up claiming the Rift Herald. And as I'm talking about these objectives, Serenity has been on top of these objectives, man. Every single one, 3 in a row, immediately off these timers. They have claimed them.
Yeah, can't be happy to be down 3,000 gold in this early stage, but have to be happy with players clearly listening to direction of the coach, and that gold lead should shrink here, especially if they can get the entire tower. But Shapeshift kind of using presence of mind there to just say, you know what, we need to feed gold into Yumichi, just an easy place for me to use this Herald, get some gold, and maybe even make a play out of it. Ulti is ready. TP is actually going to be the call here for Astrocats to try and defend, as there's a knock-up hit onto the Lilia. Shapeshift in trouble. Camille's going to steal the deal. See you later. Avril able to pick up a kill.
That TP from Fairy Girl came in, or not Fairy Girl, sorry, Muramina came in super clutch. That alone kind of made Serenity immediately hesitate on the play, but then they tried to back up and it was just too little too late. Did end up gifting Shapeshift's life as well as her flash. They got some plates, but they might lose their lives now. They're under their own tower. Clan's immediately going to be burned by Yumichi. They have enough damage to almost try and turn this back around. That ignite taken down onto Fico as well. But the storm maybe a little bit too late. Flash as well just to make sure Avril will make it out alive. Heloisia surrounded on just 1 HP.
Very nicely done. Not sure the flash was necessary from Avril, but I think taking the safe route is important there. As this dive was, this was a full commitment out of the Astrocats here. Marco ulti making the setup nice and easy. Rakan continuing. Oh, the cleanse. I mean, tough spot there regardless, because you're going to get knocked up by Rakan, but cleanse maybe used a touch early there by Yumichi, and then really nothing you can do at the end of the day. Really nice turret tanking trading there. Fiku flashing out at the last minute. I love this ulti out of Avril. Not only defensively for the tower shot, but really committing to making sure the potential second kill happened if she could pull the feathers back, but does manage to flash there instead. So Heloisia getting a little bit back there, getting that flash that Avril didn't necessarily need to use. But like I said, I would use it there if I was Avril, because I don't want to be, I don't want to get killed in that spot. That'd just be the worst.
And you also saw in the, I really like in the slow-mo replay there that you saw Avril take that one micro step, that one click forward after the hook went out. I think probably definitely saved her life. If it wasn't for the flash, then that one mini step forward probably also hit it home really well. And you can see immediately, just off the first 15 minutes of this game, right, exactly where the coaches have been drilling these players. Tower dive, super clean on both this top lane and the bot lane, as we're about to get another top lane dive. Poor Shysep has not been left alone at all underneath this turret. Not a whole lot that she can really do. She tries her best to live for as long as possible, but of course that kill will end up being going over to Muramina, and that might just be the tower, first tower for Astrocats as well.
Yeah, it was a much happier game for Shysep when no one was in the top lane. Now everyone has come top lane, and that tower does indeed go down. So Gold continuing. Nice capture. Oh my goodness. Taking out the Xayah. Avril just disappears.
I mean, she clicked the buttons in time. You can't fault her for that. She had the cleanse. That's what she was able to use. And I mean, not a lot you can really do against that Nautilus.
I'll give the head tap to Heloisia there. That's like, hey, I got your flash earlier. I know you're going to be dead here as well. So it does manage to pick up a kill there, and a good one as well. Shutdown gold gifted over to Serenity, as Miss Timo also going to equalize the turret. So that gold lead, still 3,000 gold ahead for Astrocats, but that's what it's been for a lot of this early game. I feel like that top lane gank into taking that tower was maybe setting us up for Astrocats to continue snowballing their mid game, but Serenity with the great answers actually keep the game within, let's call it touching distance, right? Not losing extra, even though it was a really nice setup for Astrocats to continue their strong set of dives.
Absolutely. That gold lead is only going to have an impact if Serenity take a team fight on even terms. But so far, they've only taken fights underneath their own tower when they have 2 or 3 members up on the opponents, when they have the better position in the lane. And that is how they've been able to win these team fights despite being down 2, 3, almost 4,000 gold, right? This is the first objective that the Astrocats have been able to pick up this entire game, that being second Ripchill. But we've got a 1v1 going on in the bot lane. Fairy Girl, I thought she was going to make it out alive, but I mean, I guess not. This team knows her damage better than me.
Yeah, Luden's and level 2 Syndra ulti making that look... yeah, I'm with you. Easier than I thought it was going to be, as I think Farragirl also did not expect to die there. I was looking for the opposite. I was like, Farragirl's going to take the tower, there's going to be some sick outplay with the Ahri ulti, and then Syndra clicked the outskill you button, and Miss Teemo collects a very clean solo.
Miss Teemo absolutely utilized her damage perfectly there with the first strike, with the stacks before the ulti, right? All of that is how you know that somebody has absolute mastery on these control mages such as Syndra.
Speaking of... Well, I was going to say Syndra, but actually, that's not what I was going to go for. I was going to mention that despite the clean objective record, Astrocats have finally decided to answer, got the Herald, dropped it mid for a bit of damage, and now going to try and square up this Dragon Pipe bait. I think we're in for a rumble here, Cam.
We may just be, got a TP on the top side. I don't know if Serenity has seen the TP. Now they absolutely will. And a Wilkie Fairy Girl on the other side, Billy Worth absolutely massive Wakanda 3-man charm. And here comes damage from Muramita as well. The rest of the team is asleep, but they're not going to be asleep for very long. You got to watch out for Avril with the feathers, as well as Fairy Girl with all of these extra charms. There's so much CC, so much damage. Shysep doing as much as she can on the backline on her own, but everyone is still alive with just 1 HP. She'll end up going down. That's the clean ace for Astrocats.
Incredible team fight for the Astrocats, and if we get a replay of that, I know exactly what I'm going to be looking for. This TP was disgusting by Fairy Girl.
Yes.
Look at this, right on the wall, Shysep's there, ults out of the way, and then finds the flank angle here. Muramina kicks things off over the wall with Camille, and then Fairy Girl capitalizes instantly to eliminate the enemy AD carry. Ezreal normally completely safe, a Hextech ultimatum, just putting him in the little cage and making that kill so straightforward. Miss Teemo, I will say, played incredibly to live for as long as she did, but it just was not enough at the end of the day. Without your AD carry, with your battle lines completely split, it is just Ahri and Camille dancing over your entire team. That was the buffered stun that actually forced Muramina to flash, and Miss Teemo with a nice job there. But at the end of the day, it is the full-on ace for the Astrocats. We're just going to rocket up this gold lead.
Yeah, I said, right? Like, you cannot take these team fights where you are on even ground, even footing, and even numbers. That is where the Astrocats are going to shine, and they were able to smack you around with their wallets when they are now up 6,000 gold and getting their first dragon. Not their set first objective, but they do almost have an even up dragon score. That next dragon, I think, is going to be very decisive. That one wasn't. The next one absolutely will. We could see some tower plates falling, or towers falling, not tower plates, after that next dragon fight.
Yeah, I did say that 3,000 gold felt like it was kind of within touching distance, and now that gold lead, which I said that what I felt like was a moment ago, yeah, it doubled. So certainly a wonderful early game here for the Astrocats. We'll see how Serenity find their footing. Certainly have the tools to make some plays in the side lane, pick some people off, and try and get gold back for themselves. But you are at the mercy of your opponents for a few minutes, it feels like, while Yumichi is still scaling up, while your Syndra and your Lilia are still scaling up. While Renekton, honestly, as well, just needs a little bit more to try and be competitive in these fights, because Renekton, you know, somewhat tanky as a bruiser, he's going to just melt right now with how powerful the Astrocats carries are.
I also am pretty sure Astrocats were sitting on some of their item spikes during that last fight. You see Avril sitting on 2 items. I believe she had that 2-item power spike during the fight as well. So in the next team fight, Miss Teemo and Shapeshift, or Miss Teemo especially, but Shapeshift would be nice to see them have 2 items in the next dragon fight, and that is going to be their own massive spikes. I'm pretty sure Syndra is one of those 2-item spikers, right? So the fact that she was sitting at 1.5 items for that fight and still did massive damage, you just have to wait 2.5 more minutes now for that next chance. Muramina caught out here potentially in the bot lane, but Shysep doesn't have a whole lot of gap close just to actually reach the hook shot off of the Camille.
Yeah, it looks kind of like running after the Camille, hoping something happens, but Astrocats instead is going to go ahead and start. Baron is a 4v4 on the top side of the map. We'll see what happens here. Shapeshift, no flash. True Shot Barrage going to get them a bit of information, trying to put the enemy jungler to sleep. Perhaps that Shapeshift too low, nothing to do. It is a Baron pick up there for Astrocats. Very decisive call to get the objective.
Yeah, really nicely done. They saw Shy Sept in the bot lane. I'm assuming, again, we've been talking so much about coaches, they've probably also drilled in these players' minds, you need to be timing these TPs. If you're timing the TP and you see Shy Sept bot lane and know that she doesn't have TP, that is an excellent time to go and take the Baron. Miss Teemo, with, I mean, as best as you possibly could have tried to steal that. I don't think I could have done it any better than that, absolutely. So she tried it as best as she could and just a little bit too early, I think, for that one. The gold lead has grown now to about 8,000 in the favor of Astrocats, and they are only continuing to grow it.
Yep, yeah. Snowball's starting to roll down the hill, it feels like, here for the Astrocats. We'll see how they look to maybe close this game out, as they are in position to put the finishing touches on this first game. But of course, Serenity still have opportunities back into this game. But you talked about it in drafts, Cam. Camille split pushing in the side lane. Gonna be a pain as the game drags on.
Yep.
It's just so challenging now with the Baron, especially when the entire enemy team is also shadowing this Camille, making sure this very long-winded 1-4 split push goes exactly right as the dive's going to be set up. Muramina looking to go on through. It's a knock up there. Rakan dives into the back. It's spooking into the back lines as well. And that's going to be a Zhonya's pop there to keep the front line safe and get a kill there as Avril does pick up bomb, but the damage return is very nice. Avril actually taking a little too much damage. We'll see if that deters the push here for the Astrocats or if they're happy with the kill they got.
I mean, that was, once again, the best case scenario for Astrocats. They have constantly been on top of these teamfight positionings, teamfight engages. The engage from Fico over the wall with the Nature's Grass was about as best as you could possibly ask for in that scenario, right? You're out of vision, you have the CC available, and the lockdown onto the main engage of Serenity being Shy Sept. If that's the person that you kill first, that is a very immediate teamfight loss for them.
Yeah, do have to reset, but don't lose too much time to get back out onto the map. Drag it up in 25 if they want to fall back and take that, but want to try and maximize the Baron they have left. They have got about 30-ish% of the buff duration left. I'm like guessing because I can see the duration bubbles. Oh, Cam! Could be trouble here for Serenity.
Onto the turret, definitely probably not where you want to fight, especially with no minion wave. And you have a dragon coming up in 5 seconds. This is the dragon that I was earlier before the Baron saying that Serenity would probably want to fight if they had that item spike on Miss Teemo and Shapeshift. And they're looking to fight it now. They do have that item spike on Miss Teemo, but oh, I said they were looking to fight it before I looked where the TP was going. Never mind, they're not looking to fight it. I thought it was a TP to the dragon.
I think not a fight you can reasonably expect to win, so just going to take the trade of gold there. Yeah, definitely not anymore. So I do like the decision to just trade there, but the push is still going. Like I said, Baron was up for a little while longer, and they are going to get some Baron-empowered minions up into this tower as Nature's Gas goes in, and Billyworth trying to find the play.
Trying to find a play, but underneath those Nexus turrets are not even safe anymore for Serenity. Miss Teemo trying to flash away and still is the first member to fall. This inhibitor might be under fire here. 23 minutes only into this game, and the first inhibitor tower has fallen. Shy Sept taken out real low. That is your take, and that is your take. Almost melted instead. Melted your AD carry, though. Avril does not have the damage available to survive the AD carry. Hextech ultimatum, though, gives just enough safety for Muramina to be able to take out the enemy jungler.
Some limits being tested there by Avril, which I absolutely respect, but just walked forward at the enemy and hoped the wallet diff was enough to carry through the fight. Unfortunately, she does get punished for her hubris, but not too big of a loss there for the Astrocats as Farragut and the rest of the squad, along with mostly Muramina, managed to clean up the rest of that fight and get the inhib they came for. So, not a death Avril needed to take, but one I certainly respect she did.
I mean, if you're dying for an inhibitor, I don't know if she had a bounty. I'm guessing she probably actually did have a bounty, but even then, giving your life up for a 1-for-1 and an inhibitor is pretty much always worth. They are still about, what is that, 9,000 gold ahead. So one death, if that is all that happens, is still very much in the favor of the Astrocats. They have been on top of this objective control since about the 10-minute mark. Remember, Serenity did get the first 3 objectives, but since then, there's not been a lot of opportunity to get any more.
Yeah, the early game was kind of traded off for that gold versus Serenity's objectives, but Astrocats have done a wonderful job of snowballing this lead. I mean, I think coaches will be very happy reviewing this game with how well things have generally gone. They're not quite up to that golden 10,000 gold mark, but they're really not far away from it here. Might not even need the second Baron. It is up in 90 seconds if they feel like they want another objective, but whole squad is singing right now for the Astrocats, just looking to try and find basically one more window to end this game.
The way that you can tell how good of a coaching you get, and I think this is something that Zoo actually said, one collegiate League of Legends coach. you look at the intent of the players in the game. So far, the intent in this game has been so strongly orientated towards these objectives that you could tell the coaches have had a pretty massive impact on how the players have learned and adapted over the past couple of months together. And you got one more pick coming up here in the top lane. Poor Shisa thought she could farm under this tower on her own. That has not been the case at all this entire game. Renomator trying to flash away, but the Nautilus on her head almost caught her out. She even had the sleep, and it was still just about far enough away. It was only 1 kill for Astrocats.
I think there are very few scenarios where that is a play you make, but Astrocats know they are far enough ahead that they can dive what should be the tankiest member of Serenity under a tier 2 tower and get away with it.
Absolutely. That's usually a very risky play to make, and the fact that they are almost all sitting with bounties on their heads, their entire top side for Astrocats have bounties on their heads, and not small ones at that. Giving away 1, 2, or especially 3 of those could be a pretty massive swing for Serenity if they could claim those.
Yeah, just a casual 1,000 extra gold you can collect if you manage to get all 3 of those kills. That's, you know, on top of the rest of the gold that you would get from the normal kills. Thankfully, Astrocats do just get the kill, get the tower, and then slink away as it is time to reset back for this Baron. Neither team has really been in the area for a while. Astrocats have been pressuring, and Serenity have been back towards their base. So there isn't much vision to speak of here for either team, but Astrocats know their objective timing here, and they're just going to start it. If Serenity want to fight, let them fight.
This is the best case macro scenario for any team. Is you're in that entire side of the jungle, like not even their blue side, that entire top side of the jungle is just dark vision for Serenity. They are walking around with blindfolds on their head, and that's exactly what you see Shapeshift doing on the top lane right here. You cannot walk out past the vision that you do not have, and they've got the Baron, they've got 1 more pick, and that just might be enough to take 1 or even 2 more Nexus turrets. Or not.
Yeah, gonna be tough to defend this siege, I have to think. We got the supers in the bottom side still giving trouble to Serenity, and we are going to push through both top and mid here, trying to take the maximum of the situation. Ooh, Knockup does find Shysep, but Renekton going to dash over the wall to safety. Nature's Graft is burnt as Yumichi stands behind Renekton to not get rooted by the Maokai ulti. You know, successful strategy there as Muramina just diving on in, looking for the enemy support. It's Billyworth flying in again. The quickness plus the knockup should get at least 1 kill, and Shysep do what she can, but cannot survive. It is a double kill for Avril off the back of that player's Holosia, also evaporated to start it off.
1 more inhibitor taken. Now Astrocats are looking at these Nexus turrets with hunger on their faces. I don't know a better way to say that, but I mean, there's not even a safety net underneath your own Nexus turret. Shapeshifter flashing in to try and save something, but the only thing she could save is a couple extra seconds of her Nexus. Yumichi as well trying for the same exact tactic, and it does not work again. Game 1 of this best of 2 will be going to Astrocats.
Very nicely done. What a fun way to kick off our best of 2.
Yes.
Honestly, just like almost a clinical snowball there from Astrocats. Understanding, you know, where they were strong. Even like as the game developed, where Muramina was like, hey, this 1v1 sucks. Can someone help me? And Billyworth's like, yep, I got you. Just really good map play, really good understanding of where you should be at different times, how to snowball your different lanes. And then once they got their gold lead, Astrocats just kept going. Like the 3,000, it felt like there was still some fight for Serenity. But as soon as we doubled that and got to 6, it just felt like the game was completely out of hand.
It was very clearly Astrocats past tower plates falling, right? They always knew exactly what macro play they wanted to do. They had the comms to do it, they had the gold to do it, and the fact that they were able to connect all those pieces together so quickly in this game 1 and showcase how much practice I would say that they've been able to put together as a team in this game 1, which was really, really strong beginning of the game changers here.
Yep. We did mention that practice. I did have another wonderful little correction from production. Again, they are the best. Thank you, Wisdom. Saito did clarify that even though the program did start in July, you were correct about that, most of July was actually just tryouts and team formation. So the teams have only practiced for August. So they've still got a month of practice, but you have about as much practice as the number of games you are going to play throughout this whole program. So by the end of game changes, you will have practice for as much as you initially practiced for before it started. So not a lot of time to get things together, but obviously the teams putting themselves together, chatting, figuring out what the vibe is, figuring out who they want to play around, where their strengths are, where they maybe need their coaches to step in and help them out with things. And I think for both these teams, even though it was a pretty clean win for Astrocats at the end of the day, showcasing how effective that very little amount of practice time and coaching has already been.
And I definitely agree that over these next 3 weeks before the LA trip, I think we're going to see maybe not a meta develop, but at least the synergy and the ability of these teams develop a lot more than we are sitting right now. This is only day one. This was only game one of 3 weeks of what? Oh my goodness, 18? No, 9 best of twos. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, 9 best of twos before LA.
A lot of best of twos. I
lot.
can't do math. On or off air, it's just impossible for me.
Don't ask me to do math.
Yeah, no. Again, it's 2 play-by-plays. There's no math here. There's none.
There's no math here.
You just yell about the game. The thing I did want to actually point out in this game that was definitely apparent, and you pointed this out even before we got into the game, Farragher, obviously a player that was targeted in this game, and I think understandably why. You mentioned it, highest ranked player at this event, and definitely showcasing a lot of that individual skill, not just in lane, did get the solo kill kind of around the 8-minute mark as well, but just different decisions she made with her TP, positioning in lots of fights, really understood like how to play both in her lane and with her team, and there's a ton of mastery and like wonderful skill expression displayed on this champion. So definitely going to be a player to watch out for, I think, throughout this entire event. I'm curious to see how teams want to approach this matchup, because if she plays like that on Ahri after getting a bunch of mid lane bans, I can't imagine Farragher isn't going to be a problem for everyone at this event.
Yes. That was 3 mid lane bans, and then she was the B5 Ahri pick was, I don't think, no, yeah, she did have counter pick actually. It was I'm forgetting the name. What is this champion? Syndra. I was thinking Silas. It's not Silas. The Syndra was R4, and then the Ahri was R5, but the Swain and the Tristana are 2 picks that I would love to see Farragher get her hands on at least once during the span of all of these best of twos. I think those would be super, super strong comfort picks. The LeBlanc as well. I'm actually surprised that Swain was banned after the LeBlanc. I think Swain might be a little bit scarier than that LeBlanc, but maybe they know something that I don't.
Yeah, maybe. I think also just utilizing the maximum amount of bans they had, maybe trying to tempt you, be like, we're not gonna ban it. You should ban something else. And obviously still banning it to show respect to that champion. A great game 1. We are gonna have game 2 up in just a moment. But before we get there, I did say we're here for Game Changers. You might be wondering, what is Game Changers? That is an excellent question. Game Changers is an event where we're trying to showcase the talented players of marginalized genders and help tell their story. Such a cool event, something I personally was really interested in wanting to be a part of this year. I've been a part of it before, and actually for a different game as well. Valorant had me for a game, which was good
Valorant.
fun. But super awesome event. I think I'm excited to see a ton of these players, get to know them a bit better, get to showcase their skills on and off the Rift, and just showcase players that absolutely are worth your time to kind of investigate and understand better. So awesome thing. We'll obviously have a lot more to say about Game Changers as the event rolls on. But if you're wondering, if you just showed up to the stream, it's like, hey, what on earth is this? That's a little bit about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, all of the players in this tournament are of players of marginalized genders and players that you may not get to typically see in these CLOL, NACL, Proving Grounds type of competitions, right? So the fact that we get our own individual Game Changers event to showcase all of these amazing players is a fantastic event that Riot has put on, and I am super excited to also be a part of it as well as a marginalized gender.
And as we've said, not that much time for these teams to practice, and we are on for a lot of people. Probably a patch that you're playing a lot on live, but maybe haven't seen a lot of competitive on. So fun to see what's happening. I don't remember what patch we're locking for Worlds. It's probably a little while away, but it is cool to see where are we right now, right, as far as League of Legends goes. So I'm expecting a ton of unique picks, a ton of different changes and adaptations as strategies and teams kind of figure out what they want to do and where they want to play. And honestly, one of the best things about events like this is that you just see stuff you don't get to see that often. Like, let me tell you, I've done a lot of different LCS seasons in my life. Sometimes you just want to go to sleep. And I hope they keep banning Azir, because I will go to sleep if we see too much Azir. I'm not gonna go on the tirade today.
Poor
but let me
Azir.
let me tell you, I have a lot of words about Azir. I think part of it stems from my insecurity about not being able to play the champion despite being a long-time mid laner. So, might be more of a personal thing.
I think I've played Azir like 1 or 2 times in ARAM. He's my ARAM and my ARF champ. Azir and ARF is so much fun.
Maybe that's what I missed out on.
I would never play him in solo queue. I would definitely never play him in a competitive game. I do not have the hands for that. But ARF is a very different spam all the buttons. Skill expression does not matter in the slightest. But like you said, we do have game 2 for you. Hopefully just around the corner, just looking to see side select once again. Loser does get side select in all the game 2s of the best of 2s. So Serenity will have side select for, I would assume that they're going to choose blue based on everybody else choosing blue. That's my thought process there.
I think early in an event as well, when you're just trying to navigate your players onto comfortable champions and like maybe play around like one or two things work for you, right? Because again, you haven't had that much time to practice.
Yeah.
Blue side does make a lot of sense. Again, it may just be that blue side is also just the side you should be on for this patch. That also could be a thing. But I think for early on in the tournament especially, it makes a bunch of sense. And for your information, you will be staying here with us while we get into that draft. Team Serenity has in fact picked blue. Cam didn't see that before they said that. They just knew.
We just saw it now. I will take my prediction. Let's go.
Look at that.
I would have been very surprised if they picked red, honestly.
Me too.
Maybe we'll see some red selections for next week, but looking towards the blue side, probably going to see a Rel ban again. I would expect a Tristana ban again. Serenity probably going to ban Swain. Like, I think those 3 bans are probably locked in place. The other ones are up for a little more changing. I think the Jax ban might change. Renekton looked super comfortable for Shy, except she was doing super well in the 1v1 isolated in the top lane, but then the top lane was no longer isolated.
Yeah, I think definitely feels like more strategic things you have to change. Then you have to change like specific picks. I could see a world where you want to take away one of Xayah or Rakan just because that's a very robust 2v2, and obviously Avril's a player that also, I mean, in some ways got overshadowed by how well Fairy Girl and Ramina were playing, but I think is a player absolutely to watch out for and be in fear of throughout this entire event. A very talented bot lane. In fact, also support roamed a ton. Billyworth showing up in so many of the pivotal moments. So even just taking away a roamer like Rakan, who has so many different mobility tools and ways to get around the map, might even be the better version of breaking up that lane. But again, teams have time to talk about things between games. I think they have about 5 minutes to kind of ponder and go through their picks and get feedback from their coaches. And again, from the coaching we've kind of seen innately through the game we just watched, clearly there's going to be a lot to say and learn as these players go through like a turbo season, basically. 1 month of practice, 1 month of games.
I think one of the main purposes of Game Changers is to take the let's say LCS season, right? And condense it down into as much time as possible and give the players, the coaches, the managers all the same exact experience as they would have and if they did real LCS, right? Like the entire LCS tournament is what, like 3 or 4 months? I don't know the exact time, but this is in the span of 2 months. So the entire thing is so condensed and you have to learn so much more and so much quicker. That's the stress that the players are under right now. And they've got to show it to us now.
Yeah, and these are not, as far as I'm aware, these are not, teams filled with full-time professional league players, right? They have jobs, they got school. Yeah, exactly. So it's on top of all the things you have to do is find a way to practice, find a way to keep grinding solo queue. But it's such a cool opportunity. I think I hope the players will really experience that in the live environment as well when they actually come to LA. I don't want to spoil anything, but I believe there's a lot of cool stuff on the table to kind of bring that LCS experience to these players and really kind of do as much as we can to show like, hey, like if you are a pro player, these are the things you would have to do: play on stage, go through photos, etc., etc. As we are into game 2, we're gonna have a draft here.
That's no fun. Yep.
Players love stages. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm so sorry. That stage is so cool. I'm excited to even see the stage. I don't get to play on the stage, but I get to go look at it.
You might get to play on the stage. If there's a playtest, you never know.
That's true. I'm going to play the best ARAM of my life on that stage. But anyways, we are now into game 2. Astrocats and Serenity have now swapped sides. Of course, once again, the Serenity has opted for that blue side, and LeBlanc is actually once again their first ban of the game.
I think, again, correct amount of respect being shown, but we'll see if there are any changes here. For Astrocats, you may have some strategy stuff to change on red versus blue, but generally the plan they brought to the table felt pretty robust. Felt like everyone got some comfy champions, prioritized the bot lane in the early stages, continue banning Rel, and everything's just going great.
Continue banning Rel, continue banning the Tristana. We were having a conversation about this in one of my classes recently. Would you say, you said comfy, but would you say uncomfy or uncomfortable? Which one?
I personally would say uncomfy, but that's because I am willing to violate the sanctity of the English language. Constantly. So
we had a very long, in-depth conversation about that in one of my recent college classes, and now it's a question that I ask everybody.
I'm uncomfy is fine. If there's one thing the English language is, it is malleable, and
that's true.
I'm willing to bend it and squish it in as many opportunities as possible. It's fun. What I talk for a living. What else am I supposed to do?
That's true.
If I have to say the same words all the time, not very exciting.
We're sitting here, we're talking about League of Legends. That's what we're doing.
That's true.
All the bans have remained the same other than the Rakan, so we will most likely not be seeing we won't be seeing a Xayah Rakan bot lane, but we probably will end up seeing the Xayah if that is not also banned.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they want to take the whole duo out, or if they're just being like, okay, we took one, that's enough. J4 going to be the ban again for Serenity, so keeping that the same from the last game, even though they swapped sides, which I guess means Swain is up potentially. We'll see if that is the thing that happens. That could be fun. There we go. But of course, one more ban before we get there. Astrocats just deciding what they want to take away.
Once again, I am predicting probably an AD carry here on B1, and then they're going to surprise me and lock a Nautilus. Nautilus is still up on the table. I would not be surprised. Okay, I was going to say not be surprised if the last ban actually ended up being a Nautilus, but Kai'Sa will be that other ban, so Xayah and Kai'Sa being kind of the number 1, number 2 AD carries in the meta right now, right? It's been that way for quite some time now, so
yeah.
One is banned away, most likely see the other B1.
Felt like Xayah took a little while to pick up, but was starting to gain some traction when Kai'Sa was at her peak. Kai'Sa and Static Shift have been nerfed like a bunch of times, and still there's just Kai'Sa everywhere. So
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't look. Maybe it's unsolvable, as Azir is going to be our first pick. It's fine. Not every Azir matchup makes me go on a tirade. For now, I'll be happy to see Miss Teemo's Azir. And again, very strong prevalent meta champion. One you can definitely showcase a ton of skill on. So curious to see how Miss Teemo navigates here. And even Fairy Girl's counterpick could be a lot of fun here if she has something extra special prepared for this mid lane matchup.
Azir is once again a super comfortable champion for Miss Teemo. We saw her on a less comfortable champion, Syndra, last game, and you still saw the power that she held as that Syndra. Now on, I would say, probably her number 1 champion. We were talking to the teams earlier. We were talking about what would be your favorite champion to play if you could. Miss Teemo said Azir. Now you get the Azir. Day 1, game number 2, and that Lux you looked a little bit surprised about.
So I, so many things shot through my brain when I saw Lux. First of all, it could be support Lux, right? Could be for Billy Worth, but I suspect that could be a mid lane counter pick. It is in the pool for Fairy Girl, which I'm somewhat surprised by, but this is something you see a decent amount if you're trying to counterpick Azir. You want to play a mage with longer range to try and poke him, because if Azir is just left to free fire and hit you with soldiers, it's just a miserable play experience, right? So this is why we see stuff like Corki when Corki's in vogue, because he's got a ton of poke. This is why we see stuff
Azir
like
Corki, you said it.
If that happens, you might have to solo cast. I'm going to be honest with you. I have had to cast. There'll be no one casting the game.
No.
But Xerath, obviously a pick you could also take, but actually Xerath got too good and we had to get nerfed. So Lux is kind of maybe the next champion in line, and did recently get buffs that were actually meant for mid lane and not for support. So all that coming together makes me think that it could be a counter pick for mid, but we'll have to wait till we get there because we have something even more excited to talk about. It is Rengar, and that is not for Shapeshift, even though Shapeshift picked the champion. It could be, but it is almost assuredly for Shysept.
Almost surely for Shysept. Once again, we've got these tongue twisters with Shysept's name. One of the few remaining comfortable high elo Rengar top lane players is Shysept. She's been playing it a whole lot. I think it might be like her number 1 or number 2 champion in solo queue right now is actually that Rengar top. So she was looking forward to getting to play it today, if not probably in the future. And you will see that Aatrox counter pick locked in here as well. But I want to actually talk a little bit more about this mid lane for a second. I think mid lane last game especially was where we saw most of our skill expression in the champions, right? It was an Ahri versus Syndra. Like, that is a very just matchup itself, very skill expressive type of matchup. Lux Azir, I think, is still very high expression, but I'm actually kind of leaning towards, I think Lux might actually be support for Billyworth here. So we might still see like an R5 support or mid lane. That's probably where they're heading for.
Yeah, the flexibility really valuable here. So even though I want it to be Lux versus Azir, because it makes sense in my mid lane brain, certainly Astrocats doing a nice job of potentially flexing that champion, because not a lot of mids have this in their pool. But Ferrygold does, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. Bel'Veth are going to get banned away. Maokai also going to get banned away. Again, it kind of looks like we got junglers, but we don't have junglers yet as far as these 6 picks go. So unlike the last game where it was, bot lane and jungle getting picked, we're picking way more solos. We're picking more still supports, but we're definitely opening up a difference here in the phase 2 of bans, and that's being reflected here by junglers just getting shot left and right.
I am actually quite excited to see this Alistar in the bot lane. Well, I say in the bot lane, I'm actually going to retract that statement. This Alistar in any lane except the bot lane is actually where this Alistar is probably going to be, especially if it is that Lux Ezreal bot lane. That lane is just too long range. It is untouchable for the Alistar, right, being a melee support. So he's going to be in the mid lane helping the Azir. He's going to be in the top lane helping Rengar plus whatever jungler champion that we're probably locking in, right? So that is where Hello ECM is probably going to be around this map. So we'll probably see some sort of very safe, can't be Ezreal, but similarly safe AD carry locked in for Yumichi.
Yeah, it looks like respecting the flex as well here. Sylas going to be banned by Serenity, and Sejuani was the last ban there to continue the trend of jungle bans in Phase 2. So Astrocats going to get first pick out of that second wave of bans. We'll see what they want to take here. It does feel like you should save mid lane for last if you can, because you're showing a flex here in this spot. Oh goodness, now I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, so I think Karma is actually in the pool of Mermaid, Fairy Girl, and Billyworth, but
cool.
they have locked in Aatrox, so I would like to think that it's not going to go top lane, but I don't know. Is Aatrox jungle still a thing? Like, what is going to happen? There's so many flex potential picks here for Astrocats. They've decided to throw it to the wolves maybe a little bit here in game 2 and try out some of those more fun picks that we were hoping to see, but still fun picks that are still very comfortable. And I was talking about a safe AD carry. Samira is definitely not a safe AD carry.
No, not at all. Very explosive, very flashy, and if you get ahead, can definitely stay ahead. Really interesting. Basically the opposite of Yumichi's Ezreal in the last game, and unfortunately, Avril took it away, so couldn't have it here. Diana is going to be the one to finish us off, which is going to be for the jungle. Remember, this is basically guaranteed to be Shycep's Rengar. This is a champion she is very familiar with. And you did want some magic damage from the jungle. We had a Lily in the last game, but Maokai is banned, so Diana for a bit more dive, bit more aggression. Different speed of team comp, I will say, here for Serenity. Seems like quite a bit more proactive with Azir kind of keeping the gang together.
And then that Gragas will be the jungler of choice locked in here for Fiku. I think Serenity has definitely... They struggled with team fights last game, maybe not player-wise, but just gold-wise was where their struggles were mostly in their game 1. Game 2 here, they have drafted a very, very team fight heavy comp. There is nothing that this team comp can do except for team fight. Like, that is their win condition in this game number 2. So I'm very excited to see team fight after team fight after team fight in our game 2 of the day.
Absolutely, but it's going to be tough, I think, in some of these lanes. Top lane definitely looking like maybe skill expression and matchup knowledge is the thing to look at here, because I'm going to be honest with you, I am not intimately familiar with the matchup spread of Rengar top lane. As Serenity are going to try for some fun. No, I'm not, unfortunately. I've been casting League for a long time, but that one I just don't have enough info on. I'm sorry to say.
I can't believe you.
I know.
Marmina also can't believe you.
Well, they're unfortunately upset that Marmina didn't stand in a silly place and potentially get herself killed, but Serenity do try poke it in there for the level 1, but don't see any customers, so we'll just back off and spread out in kind of a more standardized formation across the map. Where I think we're going to see some struggles is the lane we see on our screen right now. Samira and Alistar, you mentioned it already. Bad time for Alistar to play against something like Lux. Thankfully for Alistar, it is actually Lux in the mid lane, as I suspected for this counter pick. Unfortunately, it's still Ezreal and a range support versus Alistar and Samira. I can't think of a more miserable early game bottom lane experience than that one. There are very few, unless you're playing like double melee bottom lane.
Yeah, you could have locked in Alistar and Yasuo for Yumichi. That would have been more miserable.
I would have.
But I
Sweet
mean,
lane though.
Samira is in that like middle ground, right, of being ranged and melee kind of, right? So she's still going to have a very difficult time in this type of lane. And as the Alistar Samira combo in this bot lane, you are the ones trying to get ahead. The longer that this lane is 0-0-0, the more ahead the Astrocat bot lane actually is. So if they can get any sort of lead in the early game, that is only going to accelerate their later stages even faster. I think Ezreal is one of those 2-item power spikers as well. So I don't know if it's tier start anymore, but either way, the Astrocat bot lane, it just does not want to die in the first 6 levels.
Very much appreciate our observers being top lane, by the way. Not only so I can finally intake some matchup knowledge for Rengar top, but I think one thing Shycep did an excellent job of in the last game was navigating the early stages of the 1v1 really nicely. Obviously, Aatrox, quite a bit of fight in any matchup in the top lane, was an absolute terror in this lane for a few patches ago, and clearly the nerfs have not been enough to at least dissuade Marmina from wanting to play it here. But Shysept again, if you're going to be comfy in any 1v1 matchup and you're the kind of player that likes to play 1v1s, that's one of your strengths. And I think early footage from Shysept kind of says that might be the case. You were going to be happy no matter what kind of matchup, and Shysept clearly understanding how to navigate these three little brushes here in top side, as this is going extremely well for Astrocats in the bottom lane 2v2. They already have a turret played at 3 minutes, and that was quite the shift buffer from Avril.
Absolutely perfect. What is it? Shape shift? I don't know.
Arcane
it's not
shift.
shape shift. Arcane shift, yes. Shape shift is in the game. Arcane shift is the E from Avril there. And you also see shape shift each player as the first bot laner or jungler even in the bot lane. Boy, all of the words are getting mixed up today. They're on my screen, but they're not in my brain, unfortunately.
It's okay. There's only 5 games, including this one, to go. It's going to be a great day.
No,
by the end of the day, will be great. And unfortunately, we'll have to wait a week to go again. There's bottom lane. Could be trouble here for Billy Worth. They're getting ignited. Damage is good. Trample not quite able to proc the stun. The counter gank is in. Fiku with absolutely impeccable timing, managing to pick up first blood. And could be more, actually. Cooldown should be coming back up. Fiku lining up a potential body slam, but wanting to back away there. A little too much damage, perhaps, even with just Yumichi in Shapeshift here in the 2v3.
I mean, if you looked at the setup of that 3v3, right, you would have thought that it would have come out Serenity on top. Shapeshift was the first member there. She was the one with the double buffs, and Fiku actually, I think the buff had maybe just run out. But they're looking for the re-engage here yet again. Avril might have the damage, but might not have the mana to do it. Excellent flash double knockup right on Shapeshift. Will end up falling and burning that flash as well. Yumichi sitting really low on HP. Might not fold. Never mind, not fold. Instead, traded out with Billy Worth. Really nice flash coming out from Yumichi there to turn it right back around.
Baited! Absolutely baited! So nicely played there, Yumichi, using the little Samira spin. Now, it's funny you mentioned Yasuo basically acting like a mini wind wall there. And Billy Worth, I thought I was with her. I thought there was enough poke there, especially if Ezreal was around, to maybe get that kill and just try and punish Yumichi for some overstaying potentially, but absolutely had it all calculated there on Samira. As we'll watch the start of this one again, like you said, the second stage of this play is Fiku revisiting, had the body slam, still a 2v3, and that flash, you mentioned it in the call, impeccably spaced there. And then it's all tragedy from this one on. Billy Worth is trying to get clever, and the support returns to punish. And Yumichi gets a kill. Very valuable gold, actually, to get, given what happened in the early stages. So that's basically going to even us up. Yes, Astrocats are still up in gold, but Samira needs to stay at least even keel to get the game going. In fact, it might be more here. A dive is going to brew, and Billy Worth could be in trouble. Samira dashing in, smashing in. Heloisia is going to die, but does get the kill at least.
I mean, that was just really well calculated on both the bot lane's parts, right? Billy Worth knew that even if they dive her there, she could probably take one with her. Unfortunately, she did end up falling. Best case scenario is she takes one and doesn't end up dying as well, but there's just too much damage on the Samira. The second you give her a kill, she is a super snowball champion, very similar to that of like a Katarina in the mid lane, right? Where you give her one kill and then she runs to the side lane and gets 3 more. That is a very similar type of play style that we could be seeing from Yumichi now. Gifted the red buff as well as a kill early on in very snowbally bot lane.
And needs it too, right? Because this CS deficit is going to hurt if the lane just plays out kind of as expected in the long protracted manner. Even Shapeshift camping back down here, trying to, I think, just provide coverage more than anything else, because suspects that Fiku might be going for another visit. And I will say those instincts are good, because I know where Fiku is, and that's exactly what's happening. As it could be trouble here. Diana dashing in again, looking for the play. It's Avril getting ignited. Yumichi gonna dive on in, but it is a step too far. Avril getting the kill, nailing with basically the melee Ezreal W, and now we're gonna keep on going. The body slam might be a little late, but it's gonna be more than enough as Billy Worth just cleans up the second kill, and bottom lane is wiped off the rift for Serenity.
And just like that, it's gonna keep flip-flopping on the spotlight. All of a sudden, Astrocats has now the massive lead that they were looking for before the last 3v3 went very wrong for them, right? Avril picking up the red buff now. This is still the first red buff of the game, by the way. This is just buff transfer, buff transfer. Avril is the one with that now. It might be less useful on the Ezreal than it was on the Sphere, but still any sort of health regen to keep you in that lane longer will be very much appreciated, as you do see 3 kills now picked up by Billy Worth. I said last game I am a support main. Any kills on the support is always worth more than anything else.
Billy Worth definitely showing up as far as that category goes. So let's see just how many Karma can get this game. Perhaps it'll be something fun we can keep track of. Top side, though, looking like trouble here, Cam.
Looking at trouble, Helosia once again with this roam to the top side now. I said she was not going to be in bot lane, and that is not the lane she's in. Fortunately, Mermina does not have flash available, and Serenity know that she's going to die, so much so that Helosia actually starts recalling before gifting that kill, this time back over to Shapeshift. But you show 3 members top side, especially that of your jungler, and that is a very free first strike now for the Astrocats.
Yeah, so interesting to see basically the same play, but executed by the other team, right? Last game, it was
Yeah.
really worth roaming up to the top lane, taking out the top side and kind of breaking up the island that had maybe been started there. This time it's Serenity with the better roaming support, I might add, in Alistar, making that roam to the top side, teaming up with the jungler, and then getting Shysept some gold ahead. Shapeshift also able to get the Rift Herald. Diana pretty good as far as solo jungle power goes, and there's more than enough space here for Serenity to feel comfortable taking that objective. So a later dragon this time around does mean the objective trade. Astrocats will be happy with the dragon, but Rift Herald going to be really nice for Serenity to try and get the gold back in their favor here and even things up.
Pika looking for her second gate down here on the bot lane. Yumichi, now they know she doesn't have that spell. Oh, okay. Bye-bye. She's just
So
dead.
clean!
I thought that she was going to live longer, but no, Fiku knew the damage well enough to know she is just simply dead. Shysept even arriving down here in the bot lane. She does have TP to get back to the top lane as fast as she does, but the bot lane is just going to continue bleeding for Serenity now. You pick an early game bot lane, and then the enemy, scaling bot lane of the Ezreal Karma now has more kills. It's going to be very difficult to get kills, let alone CS. You can see the CS deficit now growing even more so in the favor of Avril.
Yeah, the kind of lane where, certainly as you mentioned, for one side, they have to either stay even or get ahead to really shine. And I don't think they're expecting to get ahead in the 2v2 because there is so much poke and the range difference was so significant. But it felt like the plays they were setting up, the kills they were getting, were kind of on the right track. And then Astrocats said, you know what? Let's shut this Samira down before anything gets out of hand. And they've done a great job of containing that potential threat. Up 2,000 gold, which is a nice early game lead once again. But similar to the last game, pace has been a little bit slower in this game 2 versus game 1, and there is plenty of time for Serenity to find space, and that is certainly going to be true from mid lane as Miss Teemo showing that prowess on the Azir, showing the comfort on the champion, even in CS, pushing the mid lane, and once items roll around will absolutely be a threat here that Serenity can lean on in this mid game to try and get some gold back and even up the game, or even perhaps push ahead.
And speaking of that mid lane here for Serenity, I'm definitely watching this mid lane closely to see what the timer will be to drop that Rift Herald, right? I'm expecting like almost 90% for that Rift Herald to be going to the mid lane. I said that last game, and then they threw a bot lane, which was like the one lane I didn't predict it going. So with my luck, that's going to happen again. The Flash Knock landing onto Avril. You got that Moonstorm underneath the tower as well. Billy were trying to run away, but they have just enough damage to take down Yumichi, and that's the damage that Serenity had. Now Avril landing a double kill underneath the turret, trying to fish for that triple, but I don't think she has the E available. That was the best case scenario for Astrocats. Once again, they can just smack them around with those wallets.
Yeah, looking real nice there. This time a defensive play they had to set up here as a watch the replay, because Shapeshift on the roam wave, not quite in the right spot, so a little bit of mistiming there. Now has to basically face tank the tower. Does get the stun, but can't get the knockup, but Avril shifts away to safety. They still go for it here because you kind of have to, and we don't have time because top lane, it's Fiku and Shysept gonna dance here as Muramina also trying to make the play happen. Rengar gets out of there, popping that pesky fully empowered W, and Miss Teemo gonna TP in just for some extra safety, and Shysept will live the dive.
Look at that massive wave that was under Shysept's tower, right? That was the slow push controlled into dive, and then you bring your jungler up, right? That, like, every coach wants to do in every single game, but it's so hard to execute, especially in these comp games, right? And if they did kill Shysept there, she would have been down 1 to 2 levels permanently for the rest of the game. That was an absolutely critical wave to keep her alive on, so really nice TP there to at least give that experience to Shysept that would have put her severely behind if it was not collected.
Yeah. Great little defensive maneuver, and great bit of dancing in the bottom lane from both the AD carries as Fairy Girl low in the bottom side as Shapeshifts kicked off the festivities, but Miss Teemo not in range to try and get a shuffle on in. And there is the Herald drop mid, as you correctly predicted. Huge amount of AoE damage out of the Lux ulti, but the plates are still going to be there. Fairy Girl forced to flash as Heloisia dives on in on the Alistar, continuing to stay proactive, and the plates go where they intended! And now it's a play! There's one, there's two, a double kill out of Shapeshift coming up massive!
Oh no! But it's not over yet. Vermina now showing her face here in the mid lane. Avril as well. You gotta watch out for this massive Ezreal. Heloisia just giving her life up for the cause. She knows that she needs to keep the rest of her team alive. That is exactly what she is able to do. Massive play coming out from Shapeshift. Even if she does die in the end, she got herself the double kill and a lot of extra plates for her team.
Back-to-back bangers from both teams here, honestly. Riftail dropped them, thinking, okay, AoE's nice. Fairy Girl trying to dissuade a potential dive. Alstar says absolutely not. Beautiful flash out of Fairy Girl to dodge the initial Alstar combo. And then Shapeshift just sees the angle here. Just clicks buttons and then keeps clicking buttons, has the ulti ready to go. Auto attacks Fairy Girl, and Lux with no flash, absolutely nothing to do there.
So
Here's Avril with a beautiful true shot barrage though, predicting the pathing, does find it and gets the easy kill. And then Miss Timo's just got no health left here. Muramina diving in, Azir going away, and they have to sacrifice one with the health bars being as low as they are. And it is going to be the support giving her life away. Because again, there was at least one person extra going to go down there. So beautiful counterplay by Astrocats to get some kills. As bottom side, the festivities continue. Oh my goodness, Inferno triggers quite the ulti. Beyblades away Fairy Girl, who's got no flash, but Fiku finds the counterplay. Can't get the kill though at the end of it. So just call it one, and it's as clean as you can ask for in a messy situation.
I mean, even if you put the smear behind, you can never take the ulti Inferno trigger away from her. I mean, you just can't walk into the Alistar smear on your own, right? That will almost certainly be a kill every single time for Yumichi, and she was able to walk away alive from it, right? Absolutely perfect scenario for her there. Astrocats looking to pick up their second dragon of this game too. Shapeshift knows that they're on it and knows there's absolutely nothing she can do to really try to contest and stop it.
And it is going to be, I would say, the most fun rift for this game. I think Hexgate Rift is the best rift.
Okay.
It just creates so much tempo, gives you all this map movement, sets up really funny angles. I think it's the most interesting to watch. And I don't know, maybe I just like clicking on the gates and going wee, but I really enjoy it.
I mean, Shapeshift is up there, or Shysept even, is up there thinking, thank God it's not Infernal, or I would lose all my bushes that I need to play the game. And Yumichi is also losing the ability to play the game for the next 17 seconds. I don't know where she went. I have no idea.
Yeah, got Gragas ulted, popped the projectile with W, which looked pretty sick, and then instantly died because you have no flash. Yep. And there's more than enough damage there between the jungle and mid to take you out. So Serenity going to get the second Herald of the game. Their second in a row for this one, as Fairy Girl will finish off the tower here and actually take out... Wow, this is the first structure of the game, despite all of the action. First turret gold going to go over to the Astrocats, and a big chunk of gold gifted over to Fairy Girl here.
We've been talking about the CS lead in the bot lane this entire game, but look at the CS lead in the bot lane. There is double Avril CS versus Yumichi. How did this happen? Yet again, I apparently have not been watching bot lane closely enough, and Yumichi having a very difficult time there in the mid lane. Exhaust is the counterplay button against Samara. You press that exhaust, there's really nothing she can do for the 2.5 seconds. It is on her. That second Rift Shield now dropped in the top lane. Was it? It's second Rift, yeah, second Rift Shield for Serenity. Does get that first turret, and most of that second turret, they're probably waiting to give that solo local gold to Shysept, is my guess.
See if Shysept can make it up there, because having to run back down to that now open mid lane, that was the extra bit that the Astrocats got there after diving onto Yumichi. And again, not necessarily the wrong place to be for the Samira, but there just aren't very many safe places for you on the Rift right now. Yeah. You're level 7. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to check, because you saw the CS, and I looked at that and I was like, that health seems way too low for where we are in the game. So I wonder what Samira's level at. Yumichi now at level 8. Avril is at level 10. You do not see experience differences like this very often between bot laners. Astrocats have just done such a good job of trying to punish this Samira as often as they can. And it's not like Yumichi hasn't been in the game. They've done what they need to do. She's gotten kills. She's teamed up with her support. And just the counterplay, knowing that they have to shut this down, has been on point for Astrocats. And Avril is once again worth way too much extra gold. 5-0 and 5 with 550 bonus gold if they can take out the Ezreal. And I have a funny feeling this time Avril's not going to take too aggressive a play and give up her life and all that extra money.
Absolutely not. And I also think it's a funny thing to note is Yumichi was level 7 at the same time. Muramina is still level 12. Fiku in the enemy jungle does get a little bit of extra damage there on Halosia. Does get the flash up from her as well, as Final Spark not going to be quite enough damage. Wow, that was definitely a little bit too close for comfort. Halosia did burn the Alistar ult as well. I was going to remember the name, and then I did not remember the name.
Avril. Flash from Avril. Yeah,
really
has to commit it there. Didn't want to have to use it, but certainly the correct thing there, given that Shapeshift this time is trying to protect the AD carry, who does need farm and experience as much as she can afford. But it doesn't seem like the Pain Train is stopping anytime soon. This poke is just absolutely savage at this stage of the game.
Absolutely, you gotta watch out for that Hex Flash over the wall from the Alistar. Knockup only landing on Afiku though, and that might be the wrong member to try and knock up, but the Zero over the wall. There's your Zero Shuffle. Double TP's coming in now as well, but it might be a little bit too little too late because the Flash can find one more before she ends up falling as well. Final Spark does finally land the Spark. Shysep, last member alive. She did TP, unfortunately, just a little too late to keep the tower and the rest of her team alive.
It's just the financial differential in these plays. Really nice job actually for Serenity to find the plays that they could. Samira got some gold. Heloisia with the wraparound there obviously has to pop the ulti pretty early, dies through it. That's how far ahead Astrocats are, and still Shapeshift commits in for the play. Miss Timo finds the shuffle back, and then Avril deletes almost everyone despite having a bunch of projectiles blocked by that Samira mini wind wall. It's just nothing left. There's a kill there, and then Samira dies, and then it's absolute carnage here. Fairygo finds a beautiful angle there, getting the light binding plus the ulti out to snipe the Azir, and then it's just trouble in paradise continuing here as Heloisia is going to go down. Avril is appropriately titled Godlike for this game.
Avril just absolutely, I mean, in every way is godlike. She was untouched in that fight. That is, at this point, the win condition for Serenity, right? Not only do you have to get on Avril, you have to kill Avril. She's a 708 Ezreal right now. That is absolutely insane. And at this point in the game, if she continues to go untouched, she will be able to 1v9 single-handedly.
Yeah, usually you just have to worry about the Ezreal being too hard to kill because Ezreal as a champion is so evasive. This time you have to worry not only because Ezreal's evasive, but because you're probably going to die in a straight-up fight if you do manage to get on top of the Ezreal. Like, I think even in just auto-attack melee range, Avril might have a decent shot against anyone in a 1v1. That is how far ahead she has gotten, and they're just continuing to try and punish. That was quite the angle on the Gragas cards as Avril does indeed go legendary. And there's going to be Miss Timo trying to find the scoop, and it is Billyworth that they find as Avril's still alive. Doesn't even have to flash, just shifted out of the way, and Billyworth is going to die. They may be able to find an extra play here as well. Miss Timo finds the shutdown. Huge 1,000 gold gifted over as Fiku's going to die as well. And all of a sudden, we may have life left in the game just yet. Berigo, they're going to grab it over, but Miss Timo sees the angle, takes out the Lux, and that triple kill may keep Serenity in this game.
Serenity finally found the fight that they needed. And I said, if you can take Avril out, that is team fight that you actually have a chance at winning. I didn't catch exactly who Avril 700 shutdown went to, but whoever it was, if it was Miss Timo, then that is absolutely game-changing. As we do get a replay on that last team fight.
It was, in fact, Miss Timo, as we'll see here. I love this ult out of Fiku, the aggressive angle. Heloisia, though, trying to find it here, buy time for the teammates. This looks like a one-way trip for Alistar, but Miss Timo with the perfect flank angle forces one back, gets Avril out of position, they chase down Billyworth, and Avril's just still trying to fight and just stand on top of a bunch of Azir soldiers. Miss Timo flashes in for the last few autos, and they clean up all of these kills on the back end of this play. As Fiku and the Jungle Pet trying to run away. There's the kill down there for Azir, and Fairy Girl looking to find one, but Heloisia deciding to give her life away because it's worth the extra kill, and indeed, I believe this gold is worth the donation, as Miss Timo finds the triple kill, including that 1,000 gold shutdown.
I think the MVP of that team fight right there, not only because she got the triple kill, but I mean, Miss Timo had the perfect positioning at every single moment in that team fight, and that is why she was able to land the triple kill and the shutdown onto Avril. You can continue to just have that positioning every single team fight, just don't misstep, right? Then you may be able to get a couple of extra of these shutdowns. Baron, I think Dance is being started up by Astrocat. I'm not sure if they're looking to actually finish the Baron or if they are playing the old bait them into walking us and then we take a team fight Baron.
Yeah, not sure they'll find a dance partner, but they are going to try it. My goodness, that looked unfair. Two very long-range full-screen ultis just delete the jungler, and that means you cannot contest for the Baron anymore. That's going to be Astrocats finding that one critical pick and taking that Baron away.
If there was one person to pick, it is always the jungler. Bye-bye, Shapeshift. hello Baron power play now for the Astrocats. They are still sitting about 7,000 gold ahead of Serenity. Finally finishing that outer turret line, get to start working on the inner turret line and probably the inhibitors with the same Baron power play. They are 2 minutes away from that Hex Tech Soul as well.
Haven't checked in on the actual gold for a while because there's been so much happening, but still, despite all the back and forth, that's gross. Beautiful little stopwatch there.
Oh no.
Still dead. Still dead. Romina just finds the angle. Too much damage there as Yumichi going to have to run away from the poke, and Avril is just playing in the faces of her opponents. Piku also caught, but Romina is going to make sure that she can defend. Excuse me. Aatrox is the he. Heloisia is in trouble, and Alsta is going to fall. Shapeshift diving in, trying to take out Avril, but it's just barely not enough, and now Yumichi is going to die. Dives back in, but there's nothing to do but give Avril the double kill.
I mean, Astrocats have just been on top this entire series, but you can definitely see this game of punishing every single mini mistake that Serenity ever make. Whether it's positioning, whether it's items, whether it's literally anything on Summoner's Rift, right? The Astrocats have been able to punish every single time, and that is how you're able to consistently get these 10,000, 12,000 gold lead that Astrocat now have over Serenity. It was a very similar play that they had last game where you might fall behind a little bit in the early game, but then you get one fight that goes in your favor and you just continue to snowball it from there with very few mistakes on your own part.
Yeah, in some ways it feels like the Azir shutdown triple kill was kind of the wake-up call, being like, you know what?
Yeah.
Now I can hear my coach's voice in the back of my brain saying, just go do Baron. And that's exactly what they did to get themselves a lead, but it is getting spicy here, Cam. Oh, goodness! Avril on a rampage is combining in with a final spark to just delete two people, make it three very swiftly. As Muramina going to dive in there as well. Shapeshift again, a desperate last-minute play. Here's Shystep maybe to try and turn it around on the Rengar, but it's looking like a full ace on my screen. That is what it is. That's going to be Astrocats sealing up the team fight win and likely the game with it.
They've got 45 seconds left on the Baron, and I definitely think in those 45 seconds, they may just take the Nexus with it. One more inhibitor taken down in the mid lane, but with the 5-0 clean ace, it may just be a clean game, and in the end, the clean series up for Astrocats. They will end up taking the 2-0 on the very first best of two for Game Changers.
Literal victory teleport from Muramina at the very end of that one. There is Avril, correctly noted by the game, unstoppable throughout this game. 14-1-10. Just
beautiful.
Barely a single blemish on the record. Ezreal not normally a champion that we expected us to absolutely go off and carry a game, but with this setup, Avril got a lead despite how much back and forth and how much Serenity knew, like, we have to stop. We have to do something in the 2v2 we pick because we're not going to win if we just sit back and farm. Even then, Astrocats had the answer and Avril just completely took over.
I mean, Avril just put the game on her shoulders and said, you know what, we're gonna take home the 2-0 today for the first series. Of course, this was only the first series, though. Astrocats will be playing in our very next game, Series 2, and then you will see, Serenity back for the series number 3. But Astrocats especially, series back-to-back, you take a 2-0, now you're going into with the mentality and the momentum is the word I'm looking for from Series 1 to Series 2. That is the benefit of going back-to-back.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of an interesting coin flip almost you play with yourself, where it's like, it's going to feel really bad if everyone's all Sag and, we're 0-2. But in this case, almost a perfect case scenario here. I'd be very worried, honestly, if I'm Arcana waiting to play my first game for this edition of Game Changers, and I just saw that. But I think also plenty of takeaways, right? One of the advantages of not having to play earlier is that you do get to see what your opponents are doing. And I think it's really clear, actually, just from one series, 2 games here, from both these teams, kind of what the initial plans are. Obviously, Fairy Girl is a threat, but is willing to play a more supportive role. Obviously wants to take counterpicks in a lot of her situations. And it does feel like even though Astrocats can play through almost anywhere, I feel like, on their map, they mostly want to make sure bottom lane is in a comfortable position. Because whether it is an aggressive 2v2 or unlocking their support for roaming, they feel very confident in their ability of these players that if they get golden resources to carry the game. And game 1 we saw a bit of that. Game 2 we saw a lot of that.
Yeah, especially. I think you talked about it between the games where the players do get, like the 5 minutes before the next game starts to talk with their coach. What happened last game? Those little micro mistakes that we saw last game from Astrocats where they dove underneath the tier 2 tower, right, when they probably didn't really need to, were a little bit more magnified in game 2 where there was that Azir triple kill, where in one certain world where this game happened, that Azir triple kill could have ended the game in the favor of Serenity, but Astrocats, they were still able to close it out. They still punished all the right mistakes at the right time, and I mean, that's as best as you can hope for on a day one with, like we've been saying, very little practice before the series started.
Yeah, very clean looking series, which is always nice to see. I think also it's not just the individual skill, which we saw from all of these players in this series, but clearly the minds of these teams already working very well. Again, I think coaches will be very happy on both sides, despite the result obviously not feeling great for one team starting 0-2, because there were so many different jungle coverages, jungle ganks, poking at different points on the map, understanding like what we should be attacking and when, and Astrocats especially, Fiku, always in the right place at the right time, which with a good jungler is never a coincidence. It seems like, oh, look, they're just there again. How wonderful. But that's always on purpose when your jungler is aware of exactly what's happening on the Rift.
Hopefully, they're always aware. As I hear, we are actually ready for our interview with Billy Worth, the support of Astrocats, as well as wonderful Ashley King joining you now.
Thank you so much, Pastry and KenCom. I'm Ashley Kent with an absolute honor to be a part of this game changer, and I'm joined by Billy Worth, the support of Astrocat.
Hello.
Hey, Billy. Hi.
Hello, Ashley.
Hello. Congratulations so much on starting out this tournament with like a sounding 2-0 victory. How are you feeling right now about the victory or getting to play in this tournament overall?
I feel so blessed to be playing with my team. They're so lovely, and all of like the directors and everyone involved is great. So yeah, I'm really excited to keep playing with them and play more stage games.
I was just gonna say that you seem to have like a really good synergy with your bot laner Avril, even though I know that like all the teams on Game Changer have only been playing together for just a month. How has your bot duo been synergy, and what have you been mostly working on?
I've actually been friends with Avril for a really long time, so we played together a good amount, and I think we're really comfortable with each other, so I think we can kind of just tell what we both need from each other, and we're really open with each other about communication. So she's the best. Love her. Shout out to Avril.
Okay. What have been some of your conversation with Avril during this series that really helped you during the drafts or during the lane phase or during the team fights?
I think we've talked a lot about what works best for us for playstyles and also like champion pairings. And if she ever needs something during the lane phase, like she always tells me, and I'm always there to respond to what she needs.
And speaking of some of the champion picks, you played Enchanters in both game 1 and 2, and I know that you are very comfortable with Enchanters in overall. I actually saw on Astrocat Twitter that there is a fun fact that you can play Sona and win against, like, you know, win against anything. Is this true? What is your overall level of confidence on Enchanters supports in particular?
I'm very confident in my enchanter abilities. I've been playing Sona since I was like 10 years old on like an old MacBook. So yeah, I love Sona and I love playing them into engage and finding a way to win.
Like, in the meta in general, I know that we are a few patches ahead of the rest of the competitive patches. And there was this weird, like, you know, balance between, okay, during the competitive season, we saw a bit of a, like, you know, era with a lot of tank supports, a bit of an era with a lot of the enchanter supports. In the overall meta, would you say enchanter supports or tank supports are more dominating?
I would definitely say tank supports are more dominating, especially picks like Rel and Rakan that are very like guaranteed and flexible, like Rel with point and click engage, Nautilus, Leona, etc. So right now I do think it's harder to play enchanters.
Okay, but you can still play enchanters anyway.
We can find a way to make it work.
Yeah, of course. What are some of the more fun enchanter champions without leaking any scrim picks, of course, that
okay.
you're kind of excited to play on tournament? You know, it can be like a really weird pick that you always wanted to play someday. I don't know.
Well, Janna's my favorite character, so if we can ever find a way for me to get my main champ, that would be great. So that's the one I'm most excited for.
Okay, we'll definitely look forward to your Jana as well as more of your great performance for the rest of the tournament. One last question, Billy, and again, it is so good that you can end this tournament with the 2-0 victory, and later in the tournament, you will even get to have an opportunity to play in front of the crowd. So, what is the one thing that you're perhaps looking forward to or achieving or prove here at Game Changer?
I'm just really trying to prove that all people, regardless of their gender or who they are, like they can be good at League and they can accomplish anything. So, yeah, I'm really excited to play on stage in LA, and I'm excited to see everyone.
Yeah, that's a very inspiring note to finish this interview, and best of luck for the rest of the tournament. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. And back to the casters.
Thank you very much, Ashley and Billy. Lovely to hear from everyone there. And Jana, interesting to hear that despite
I would
great
love to see Jana.
engaged play, I mean, me too. So I know you're a support main. I know I'm a mid player. I started my League of Legends career a long time ago as a support player. And by support player, I mean Jana One Trick, because Jana was the best support in Season 1 and 2, by far.
I started as a jungle main, so you got me switched on that.
Goodness, I'm so sorry.
I was Nunu Kindred 1-2 Trick, but that was
Nunu
once again,
Kindred, let's go!
Yes. That was, of course, only our first series of the day. Once again, Astrocats taking the nice 2-0. And once again, Astrocats! You'll be hearing this name quite a few times in the next couple of hours. We'll be taking on Arcana, our last team. We've got 3 teams in this tournament, our last team to make their first appearance here in our next best of 2.
Yeah, if they keep winning, we'll definitely hear Astrocats quite a lot. And I think with how the series opened, certainly looking like a threat. But you never know. There are 3 teams. We haven't seen one of them yet. Very curious to see what Arcana have up their sleeves. With that, we are going to go to a quick break. Don't go too far, though. There is more Game Changers coming up right after this.